through the transport module, which has had a recent upgrade. I'm just going to log in as per usual, and then I'm just going to log into the dashboard. The dashboard, just so that you're aware, this is a widget I created. I gave it its own name. In here, this is where the transport team can decide which movements they want to see, and then a lead time as well. So either 1 or 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever you want to put in there. And you can also fine tune that. So if you wanted to put today's domestic movements, you can put that in, and that will filter it based on that criteria. Or you can do all, for example, and it will filter it. So for the transport module to work, you need to build the consignments as you would normally do, and then the transport planning team can then take over the consignments to plan the vehicle stroke trailer. What I'm going to do is just create some shipments really quickly. So I'm going to do a domestic road freight next day, and then we're going to do that customer. I'm just selecting random things. This is just to give you an idea that you can do a single drop, or you can have a multi-drop trailer, for example. So the options are there. I'm just rapidly doing this. I'm not putting much thought into dates and times. I'm going to do 100 kilos. You still need to build the shipment or consignment as you would normally do. I'm just going to add in some pallets, or a pallet onto here, 100 kilos. Just put my name in there. And then you still need to build the movements. The movements will default to you as the carrier. You can change that there if you know that it's going to go on Pallet Force or a third party. But you can change this also in the transport planning mode as well, so you can change this if you need to. Just for this example, I'm leaving this as is. You can add the rates in, do your customs clearance and also your documents all on the shipment still. But now you've done that and you know it's going to go through the transport planning team, that's all you need to do on the shipment. So that's confirmed. Just so that I've got some working examples, I'm just going to add a few more in. Again, this is going exactly the same location, freight's the same, so I'm just going to confirm that, and I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to just change the delivery location. So if it's a multi-drop going to a different location, you could put that in. You will need to go into the movements here and just change the final delivery. This part's not dynamic at the moment, it's a sort of a fail-safe. So that's now changed that to Tamworth to reflect the instructions, and then again I'm going to mark that as confirmed. Likewise, you can also then assign these shipments to the transport owner if you wish. You can also set up a task to automatically assign it if you wanted to, but for now we'll just leave it at that. So I'm going in as the transport planning team now. You get presented with the following screen. Down the left hand side you've got the 5 different views. The top one is for road and delivery movement, so your day-to-day planning. You've got trunk movements. This is where you do an inter-trunk between 2 depots within your network, and you can plan that. You've got container movements. This is where if you've got a sea freight job, you can plan the movement from collection to delivery at ports, and from port to the final delivery point. You can manage that through here. Sea freight, this is where you can manage the vessel, and you can put your full container loads onto the vessel and manage the vessel rather than the individual containers, and the same with air freight. LCL, you can work exactly the same way as the transport module works for road. It's very similar. So we've got an awful lot of information down the left hand side. It's a bit overwhelming, but you can filter here. You can either filter by shipment reference number, like the one I just created, or you can do it by collection location. So this will bring up with anything with Litchfield in it. You can do it by the carrier. So you've got options to filter it. So what we're going to do is all the new stuff goes to the bottom anyway. We know that it's going to go on Cocoon Freight on our own vehicles. So I'm going to plan this as the transport planner. So we're going to go through here and we're just going to select the warehouses, and we know it's going to go on our vehicles. So you select them as a carrier. At this point, we know it's going to go on a HGV. We don't know which one it is. And then I'm going to put in the trailer number it's going to use. And that's all you need to do to start with. So that gives you where it's going to and from. If you had the registration number, it will sit in between the movement number and the trailer number, which are all searchable. And then from here, this is where we can start building the load. So down the left hand side, you can filter, if you did by Litchfield, for example, you can see all the Litchfield jobs. And one unique thing we've got set up is you can multi-select consignments, and you can do this by clicking into one, and then on a PC you hold down the shift key, but on a Mac you can hold down the command key, and then you can select which ones you want to put on this vehicle. So you can cherry pick which ones you want, like I've done there. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shipments weighing 980 kilos. I'm just going to grab the top one and I'm going to just drop that onto the container. And what I've done is by accidentally selected some shipments which are on a different carrier, and that will alert me. So it has to match. So what I'll do is I'll just find the ones I forgot to put on or looked at. I'm going to grab this Tamworth one and put that onto the load as well. And I'm also going to put this one on as well. So we've got 6 shipments on there. And the Tamworth one will naturally drop into the bottom of the run. So what you can do is change that round if you wanted to. So put the Rugeley bit at the end, or put the Tamworth bit. The arrow pointing to the left to right means it's loaded onto the vehicle and is collecting. The arrow going from right to left is what needs to be taken off the vehicle, and you can add onto the vehicle as well. Once you're happy with that planning, you can see the shipments on here. You can offload something if it's not rightly planned for that vehicle. So if, for example, this, I'm going to chuck that one off, and that will automatically update the load. And then in here, this is the breakdown of the freight on the shipment. And then from that, I'm going to say I want to put in the vehicle reg. I'm going to put that on VB54 CFX, for example. Hit save. That's now the vehicle there. This will update in a few seconds to put the vehicle in. And then in here we can say, okay, this is planned, and that's ready to be planning. So in here you can then put the planned departure date and the time, and then you can put in when you expect to collect the first load. So planned arrival, I plan to get there an hour later than what we put. And then likewise you can go through here and say, okay, it takes 15 minutes to get from Litchfield to Rugeley, so it's going to be on the same day. And I'm going to just to give myself time for a break as well, put that in. And then you could say, okay, I'm going to also plan that back to the yard. I'm going to plan that in for the end of the day, for example. It's a bit of a long day. So you've got all the planning all the way through. Once you've planned it, you can see the reg is on there. You can then go, okay, I want to generate the manifest. So just let that do its thing. And then let's look at the manifest. Again, we can create your own template, but this is the template we've come up with. If you've got a better one, just send us an example, and then we can show you how to create that in the system. If I go back to the transport op here, so this is it here, documents there, we can view it, we can then email that off, download it, etc. We can put some notes against the vehicle. And then from that, if we went to one of these shipments, if we went to 1287, for example, it will say it's confirmed, and then on the movement it's planned. And you'll notice on the movement you've got these little hatchings around the planning, which says that that's in control of the transport planning team. And then as and when you do the updates on the actual job, this will then update the actual shipment as well. So we could say that did leave at 10:01. That will then say departed. And then if we went back to that shipment again, 1287, that should say on here in a few minutes that that's departed. And then as and when you update the load, the shipment will then slowly update on the consignment side. So you don't need to do anything else on here. You can add into the run as it's going by simply just finding a shipment and say, okay, we need to collect another one from these guys. We just need to drop that on, and that will add that in. And then you can then update the plan where need be and the dates. And that will add it to the list as well. So that's the basics of how to do it. If you've got another vehicle doing exactly the same run, what we can do is, say for example, you've got pallet force and you want to add those to a vehicle. If you drop that onto a carrier which isn't assigned, the system will automatically tell you that it's signed to pallet force. So there's two ways we can manage that. You can either create a new transport movement, or you can change on the consignment in the transport mode which carrier it should go on. So in this case it could be keep on trucking, for example. If I change that, it takes a few seconds for this to update, and I'm going to do this one to keep on trucking as well. And then if I just refresh the page, keep on trucking there. And then what we can then do is go, okay, let's build something for keep on trucking, like so. And then we just do keep on trucking. And then we just put in here, if we know it, keep on trucking. It'll appear there, and exact same process. You can then just chuck that onto the vehicle, and then you can plan the vehicle through there. And then for sea freight, it's exactly the same process. You would click into the sea freight transport module, just refresh the page. We've got nothing to plan, but on here, for example, you've got this vessel here and it's due to arrive. And if you correct the arrival time on here, for example, that will update the shipments. And then you can say that's already arrived, which I don't need to do anything with. But if it was planned, for example, you could say, okay, that's departed, and that departed today at 1300 hours, like so. And then that will update all the shipments associated on that. So all these will be updated. And then you can search by movement codes as well. So that will work. And then that's pretty much the transport module. If you've got any questions or want further explanations, just please get in touch.